After decades of research, there's now little doubt about the best way to teach reading.
Say,
After teaching kids the sounds that make up all words and how to blend those sounds together, research-based reading programs teach kids explicitly to link sounds to written letters.
What do you wish in the Emerald City?
With systematic instruction and exposure to good literature, children become fluent decoders, build vocabulary, and read with comprehension and expression.
To think it over. So he is, said the Green Man, and he rules the Emerald City wildly and well.
But while individual schools have achieved great success with research-based programs, many schools continue to fail to teach all of their children to read on grade level, with disastrous consequences in middle school and beyond. Given that we know how children learn to read, many educators and concerned citizens have been asking a simple question. If some schools can succeed, why can't all schools do it? Can reading success be extended throughout entire school systems, even in at-risk communities? The following 3 case studies show that the answer to this question is an unqualified yes. Inglewood, California is an economically disadvantaged area located near Los Angeles Airport. It has 13 elementary schools. 10 years ago, 11 of these schools consistently failed to teach their children to read, performing well below the state average. But 2 schools stood out: Kelso Elementary and Bennett Q Elementary. Their kids were just as poor and just as disadvantaged. Yet year after year, with these 2 principals at the helm, the schools produced kids reading well above grade level.
We had been getting good test scores since 1980, but the rest of the district was not. And we had the same resources.
In 1995, this discrepancy attracted the attention of Inglewood Superintendent Dr. James McKinley Nash. Nash asked a question. If these 2 schools could succeed, why not the 11 others?
And so he called every principal and said, you all have the same resources, you have the same population, so it doesn't make any sense that only 2 schools are doing well, but because 2 schools are doing well, he knew that everybody could do well, provided they followed our example.
What sound do you hear?
All the other principals went to see what Bennett Q and Kelso were doing that made them so successful. Both schools were using a research-based reading program. But both also had developed a system of training staff, periodic monitoring and testing, and intervention. By 1998, a handful of Inglewood schools were performing at Kelso's and Bennett Q's level. 3 years later, virtually every school in the district was on or above grade level. The school district of Los Fresnos is located some 50 miles from the Mexican border. It has 6 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and a high school. 8 years ago, literacy scores were poor.
Our children were not doing well. 40 to 50% were failing. And we were using all the excuses that are out there to explain away our low performances. But at that time, we got a superintendent that came in and and challenged us to think beyond that. And what he said was, all right, we're getting children who are economically disadvantaged, and they're coming to us knowing only the Spanish language. And they're poor, and 3 out of 5 children come from broken homes. But those are factors that we cannot do anything about. What can we do between 8 and 3 o'clock?
Starting point, around left, curve it to the right, and down around right, curving left.
It turned out they could do a lot. Starting with a research-based curriculum, they wrote a detailed timeline for each grade, showing what skills students needed to master and when. They used their top teachers as trainers and did frequent testing and evaluation. Today, these students are lucky enough to be in one of the strongest school districts in Texas. Just about every grade in every school in Los Fresnos has now achieved excellence.
Six of our elementary schools are exemplary. Our high school is exemplary, and one of our middle schools is exemplary. We only have one school who's a recognized school, and they missed the exemplary rating by 0.3 of a point.
This school is in Houston, part of the enormous Houston Independent School District. A few years ago, like many schools in Houston, it was failing. Then it applied to join a privately funded K-2 reading initiative, the Rodeo Institute for Teacher Excellence, or WRITE program.
There was a small bug that did not have a home.
The Rodeo Foundation sought to replicate across many institutions the techniques that had worked in isolated successful schools. The WRITE Foundation supplied training, coaches, and research-based curriculum materials. Each school had a coach to provide ongoing training and support. The coaches systematically gathered data on progress and accuracy and worked with teachers and principals to help struggling kids and their teachers. These 20 schools' first graders were given the SAT-9 reading test in 1997 before entering the WRITE program. These are the results for 2001. All schools are now on or above grade level.
All 20 of our schools average from the 55th percentile to the 80th percentile.
What can other school districts learn from the Inglewood, Los Fresnos, and WRITE programs? There appear to be 6 steps vital for success.
Hey, what happened at your football game last night?
Principal Gloria Wendt is not just responsible for making sure her children get breakfast each morning.
Well, yeah, that's a lot more fun, isn't it?
As instructional leader, she is accountable for ensuring her students learn to read. She knows that fully implementing a research-based curriculum requires much more than purchasing books. It's her job to make sure that all of the program materials are in the hands of her teachers.
All of our teachers, when they come on campus in the fall, all the materials that they need are already ran off, collated in their room.
It's a sun, and look at the words carefully. Sun,
Whenever they need material, it's there for them.
Amanda?
But materials by themselves won't ensure success.
At the count of 3, let's put everything away. 1,
Especially for novice teachers new to the program, like Ms. Sandoval.
2,
We provide that teacher with a lot of staff development, ongoing, not once in August and then maybe again in January. It's every month they get trained by the master teachers on that campus. We don't go to outside consultants. We use our own master teachers to teach the new teachers coming in.
So again, give them something concrete they can visualize in the classroom when they are working, because it's the vocabulary.
Initially in Inglewood, they found some schools were cutting corners and not implementing the program faithfully.
Some of the schools did not buy all the necessary materials, and they did not in-service their teachers, and they did not really support this as a school program.
Very good. Here we go.
You cannot teach well without the necessary materials.
What's the word? Very good.
Fortunately, a grant from the Packard Humanities Institute enabled each Englewood school to hire a coach.
Each school had a coach, and the coach was in charge of getting all the materials, making sure all the teachers were trained, and then monitoring.
Good, say the sound signal.
In Houston, too, each school in the Wright program was assigned a dedicated coach. It was the coach's responsibility to make sure the teachers have the materials and training to do the job. It made all the difference. With a full set of materials and a trained teacher in every classroom, and the capacity to provide ongoing support and monitoring, all the schools in Englewood, Los Fresnos, and Houston's Wright program were ready to move on to the next step.
Very good. Good ears.
These kindergartners are starting out on a long journey. For it to be a successful one, each stage of their educational voyage must be carefully planned.
When you align curriculum, you don't start from the bottom. You start with the end in mind. What's the ultimate goal? For example, we start with 12th grade English. What is it that a 12th grade student in English class will have to know? Then you come down to 11th grade, 10th, 9th, all the way down to kindergarten. Every grade level is one building block building upon another.
Next word.
This second grade reading class must teach students a certain set of skills.
Clown, un payaso, a clown. Very good. Where would you?
Otherwise, they will fall behind in third grade and beyond.
Well, lucky you. Very good.
So, Los Fresnos master teachers have taken these skill goals for second grade reading and aligned them to a calendar. Every few weeks, blocks of skills must be taught and mastered. Every school in the district is supposed to follow this timeline, which means that all the second grade teachers in all the schools in the district are synchronized. They teach the same skills at the same time. And it's the same for every other grade.
What could you use instead of look? My?
But what about kids like these who have drawn a novice teacher, one who is new to the program? How will her class keep up with the timeline?
We have fish that are called what? Blowfish, right? Good, that's a good sentence.
Obviously, you get new teachers. So the only way we could ensure that that child that draws a brand new teacher would also be successful is that we provide that teacher with that curriculum and with the materials and a lot of staff development.
This beautiful big
Each new Los Fresnos teacher, like Ms. Sandoval, is paired with a master teacher on her grade who observes her class.
Okay, no, hold on a second. Let me see, who has one? You have one? Go ahead.
The
Stephanie?
master teacher also provides one-on-one training linked to the curriculum areas coming up on the timeline.
The question mark and the quotations in the
handwriting.
I'd review that because you want to get them to second grade with the correct letter writing.
In the Englewood School District, they also align schools to the calendar using the sequence of skills built into their research-based program. This means every first grade reading teacher in each one of Englewood's 13 elementary schools can teach the same skills at the same time.
If you want the whole district to improve, you got to have that. You can't have one school here, one school there doing their own thing. Everybody has to follow the system so that the entire district can make the kids literate.
We want to make sure that it doesn't matter where you live, you're going to get the same education.
You are excellent. You did a great job. Boys and girls.
Now, teachers may use different strategies. How they teach the objectives, that's up to the teacher. But what they teach, that's set. And everyone is teaching the same thing at the same time.
Before we get started, everybody make sure you have at least your 2 pencils.
Having implemented and aligned a research-based curriculum, the next step is to find out if it's working. But these successful programs don't wait until the end of the year for results.
If we waited until the end of the year to find out that our program was not working, it would be too late for our children. So we assess the children in early fall, and then again in early winter, and then in the spring. And what we do is we write tests to assess the skills that are on that timeline.
These second graders are being tested to see if they have mastered the writing skills they have been taught so far on the timeline. They must write a paragraph about a puppy. Regular benchmark tests like this one are held at the same time across the district for all grades in reading and math. While these tests have been designed by master teachers, most research-based curricula come with their own built-in skills tests. The purpose of testing is not to judge the kids, but to see how well the program is working. In Inglewood, they found that simply collecting data was not useful. To be helpful, it had to be analyzed and shared. They came up with a clever way of displaying test data so that, at a glance, it could tell teachers and administrators how a class of kids were doing.
If there were 10 problems in the test, you have to get 8 right. And if you got 6, you were, almost there. But if you had below 6, you were below level. So everybody had one of those scores, and we color-coded it. So all the kids who scored benchmark got green, and everyone who scored almost there got a yellow, and then the rest got a pink or a red. So, at a glance, you could see how this class was doing and how this kid was doing. But over the year, you started off a class with lots of pinks. By the end of the year, they were almost all green.
The charts soon became the shared metric of how students, teachers, and schools were performing. And it made a big difference.
When Inglewood dramatically turned around was when the superintendent started analyzing the data. Then the coaches knew it, the principals knew it, everyone knew it, and it gave everyone the signal, it truly is important. This is important information that must be used.
Houston's Write program is also based around data.
Each teacher has a Write folder, and in that folder we can see exactly at a glance how many lessons a day the children are getting, and we also look at their mastery test and their rate and accuracy test to see how they're doing on those.
So what I want you to do is go back and do the affirming procedures for lesson 30.
Okay. The accountability has to be there. If the principal sees where this data is going, it makes our job a lot easier.
The test data offer an early warning of problems that, if left unattended, could get out of control. A chance for the district to intervene early.
The results of the tests will be used immediately. We will determine from the results which children are lagging behind, and will immediately provide tutoring for them. We have after-school tutoring, and we have during-the-day tutoring, where we purchase our teachers' conference period 2 or 3 times a week. And then we have Saturday academies also.
It's early Saturday morning in Los Fresnos. But these kids are not going to a soccer game. Instead, with their parents' blessing, they attend Saturday Academy so they can catch up and get back on the timeline.
And many times the child doesn't get his own teacher, because if he didn't get it with his own teacher, maybe another teacher's style will reach that child.
Try to think of something that no one else is going to think of, because that's the only way you're going to earn a point. All right, number 3, country.
So we mix the children up with other teachers for tutoring.
That is, I believe, a city. Remember, we're looking at countries. Group 2.
It's to help them catch up, and they do.
South America, that's a continent, remember?
Turkey. All right, 4.99.
As well as identifying struggling students, the tests also reveal areas where teachers are struggling as well.
Sometimes there are objectives or skills that are troublesome across the district. So we know that we have to do some staff development of all our staff at that point. What we do is we isolate those teachers whose children did very well. And we approach them and we ask them to provide staff development for the rest of the teachers, just to share their secret. What was it that you did that reached those children in your classroom? And they're happy to do it. In fact, just about every teacher gets tapped on the shoulder to be a presenter or a consultant for her peers across the district. And we bring the teachers together and they know, you know, as a district we didn't do so well in this particular objective, but these 2 or 3 teachers, they did very well, and they want to share with you some of the things they did to help their children master that particular skill. And that's how we do it with everything.
As the timeline unfolds over 1 year, this cycle of evaluation, tutoring, and staff development is repeated again and again. But the real test comes at the end of the year. Every year, schools all over the country are tested with standardized tests. Tests like the Stanford 9 are given to every school in the Inglewood district to see if their students are performing on or above grade level. In the year 2001, the performance of most schools was significantly above the county and state average. These second-grade children can read. In Los Fresnos also, they have clear data showing their district-wide reading program is a success. And all 20 of the Wright schools performed on or above grade level as measured by the SAT-9. While these tests can validate success, their real use is to give feedback on areas of weakness that still need work. So master teachers at Inglewood, Wright, and Los Fresnos redesign their program in the light of the end results. They rewrite the timeline, hoping it will be even more effective next year.
Ready? Go!
These 3 school systems have shown that the isolated successes of gifted teachers and principals can be extended across entire school systems. If these systems serving poor, at-risk children can do it, so can others.
Go, Bianca!
When you have someone that truly has a vision and is truly leading the district, all your campuses should do well. And I would have to wonder about those districts where there's only a few campuses doing well. My question would be, why? Why haven't you gone down to those successful campuses and picked their brain? What are you doing so that everyone can be doing it? And the superintendent is the one that's in a position to say, everyone will do what these 2 successful schools are doing in my district.
Summing up, here are the 6 steps these districts follow. Fully implement a research-based reading curriculum by providing classroom teachers with all the necessary materials and training. Align all schools in a district to a timeline of skills that must be taught for a given grade by a particular date. Evaluate progress with regular testing. Analyze data and share information throughout the system. Intervene immediately with tutoring and staff development. Recalibrate the timeline in the light of year-end data.
Wow, Leo, they did a super job there.